So we're back with Nizi Project Season 2. This is Part 1, Episode 7. And so here we are at the star level test, or star level evaluation. This is where you do a personal talent. Sometimes they call it a personality ability or skill. But it's basically a talent show. But the purpose of it is to express yourself. JYP says you're here because you have to know why you're special and you have to be able to express it. So show yourself. Everyone here is nervous, but I don't know. I imagine the star level test should be the most fun. And so let's get into it. So the first up is Komori Yuhi. His talent is going to be ventriloquism. And he basically plays as a duck and an elephant. Now, to me, ventriloquism, it's kind of like the talent is not really the ventriloquism. The talent is really being able to do voices and being able to tell a story and just like entertain people. It's kind of like being a comedian, but then also being able to throw your voice and having that voice be good. And so, he starts doing his routine, and honestly, it kind of sounded like muffled, kind of gibberish to me. But everyone else seemed entertained. But when he started singing as the elephant, I thought that was kind of weird. And then he started singing, and I felt like if he was gonna sing and have the puppets praise him, it had to be really mind blowing. And so that's just like one of those things that you can't just like fake it, you know. And so he had to be really good at all those things. And I just felt like the voices weren't that clear and easy to. It actually would have been better if he didn't try so hard to keep his mouth closed while he was puppeteer. It would have been better if he just put up like some kind of cover on himself and just spoke out loud as the animals, because it's not really an important talent to not be able to move your mouth. I could handle ventriloquists moving their mouths as long as the story and the characters are interesting. But it came to JYP's feedback on him. JYP said the idea was good and the technique was impressive, but the performance for him was disappointing. And because of that, Yuhi, as the first person up, did not get a star level cube. And that was disappointing. But that was kind of like a rough start for this show. And so I started to get nervous after this. I'm like, oh, are people actually going to not do something good? But then the next person up was Takahashi Taichi. He's the Tokyo Taichi. There are two Taichis. So this is the Taichi. He's kind of smaller, so you can tell. And the other guy's like the opposite. So he's like, the other guy's like kind of taller and skinny. And so basically Taichi, he wants to be a world famous artist. He speaks English here, and he says that he's studying English and Korean. But none of that has to do with what he's actually planning to do on the star level test. What he's actually going to do is he's going to draw JYP while playing and dancing JYP's Fever. And so he gets into it. And his drawing, in my opinion, was alright. And I thought that he was having a lot of fun. And I would give him like extra points for the way he ended it, because he ended it on a pose in time to the music. And so to me that deserves points, like finishing your drawing and getting everything like all finished in time for the song. So you kind of have to like be able to draw, focus on your drawing as well as focus on the song, know when the song's ending, you know. And so I guess he must have like practiced it a lot, but I would still give him points for that. And so I enjoyed it. Now it came to JYP's criticism. He said that he liked that he got to see his character. Everyone was smiling, and because of that, Taichi became more interesting to him. And so I don't know what that kind of says. It says that JYP didn't find him interesting before, but then again, he's here, so he's here for a reason. But this actually got him the cube, and it started a string of cubes. And so as the first getter of the star level cube, this puts him at a 2-cube position, which is still competitive. Next is Tomoyasu Yu, and he's dressed in a suit here, and he basically wants to show his appreciation for animals. In this case, it's dogs, but apparently at home he only has a cat. But he's basically going to describe dogs and do their voices. So at the beginning of his performance, he put on like this fake mustache, which made everyone laugh. And to me, it was a funny start. And as he continued his performance, I actually thought to myself, you is actually a really good host and a really entertaining kind of host. It shows like an idol potential there. And as he was talking, everyone seemed to like his jokes. His voices for the animals, I thought that they were kind of what you would say not that accurate, and they were unexpectedly inaccurate because you kind of when you look at the animals, you're like, oh, Chihuahua's gonna have a really squeaky, tiny voice, but he ended up doing something more funny, I think, because it reminds you of kind of like anime and animals having like adult, normal inner voices rather than doggies doing dog talk. And so everyone was like rather refined in some way, and they talked like characters in an anime. And so I thought that was kind of funny. It was unexpected, and it worked in the end for him, I think. Now JYP, seeing this, he grinned a few times, but he wasn't able to follow the details because it was like an informational piece. He basically relied on everyone else to tell him how funny it was, and so he trusted in them, and he ended up giving him the cube. And I thought that was kind of strange, like, because he couldn't admit himself that he found it funny. And I think that some of the voices he did and the mustache he was put on was funny. And so he could have just come out and said that I personally found you funny, but it seemed like he was looking for approval on that. So that's you. That brings you up to 3 stones, 3 cubes, and that makes him one of the most ahead people in this competition so far. He did get some of these cubes after the evaluations, and so these were kind of gifted by extra judging. But regardless, he still has them. And so the next one up after you is So Ken, and so Ken, he hasn't gotten any cubes so far, and what he plans to do is use props while posing to JYP's Fever. And so he gets into it, and he was basically dancing using mundane actions that you would do with these tools. In this case, it was like he did it with like a ping pong tool. He did it with a pot. He did it with a sweep. He did it with some other stuff, I think. But I expected something like Risky Business with Tom Cruise, but it was actually kind of like funny that he was doing it so seriously. Like he was doing the actions kind of semi-seriously in between the music, and his face, he looked serious doing it as well. And so that kind of made me laugh that he took it so seriously. And when JYP uh, gave him feedback, he said that he reminded him of Ayaka from season 1, and he really enjoyed it, and he gave him a cube, the first cube Ken's ever gotten. And so this brings Ken into the game basically because up until now this could have been 3 out, and then he would have been just like, I mean, he would have had to reach even harder to get the rest of the cube. But because he got 1 now, he's still in the game. But I would have been worried for him if he didn't get this one. Next up is Fujimaki Taiga, and he already had a dance stone, but since then he's been having a few bad runs so far, and he actually even tried recently because he still hasn't received the cube in person from JYP. He got the dance one after deliberations with other judges, and then he didn't get anything for vocals, and they actually showed him trying in behind the scenes in a previous episode, as well as they repeated again here. And I think that he may be a JYP trainee, which is why it's extra disappointing for him. But I might be wrong on that, but I thought that was the case. And so, for this talent, he's doing a sort of jazz dance, and I feel like he wanted to show good lines. And at some point, he did show good lines, but for me, I felt like some of the transitions were kind of, I'm not sure if sloppy or muddy is the word, but I was just kind of like, it was kind of weird. It got better on later as he continued performing, but I wasn't that blown away by his performance. Now, JYP, on the other hand, he liked what he did. He said he fixed the issues that he brought up in the past regarding his synchronization of his body parts as well as his lines. And so JYP said this was an example of a good sense of dance, and he ended up giving him a cube because of that. And so That is really good for him. It puts him in in the running here because he has 2 cubes now. And next we're going to Maraku, Hoshizawa Maraku. He's doing karate, but he's also doing a combo of karate and dance. And if you guys are watching America to Korea, the American show with the girls, uh, that's something that Kaylee did as well. She did dance and taekwondo. But we get to his performance, and when he starts out, I'm like, the karate's okay. I'm not wasn't really feeling it that much. But then he started like tumbling later on, and so he does this like flip that like impresses everybody, and it's like a multi flip here, and he starts doing dance karate, and I thought this point is where it got interesting. It was worth watching way more than the beginning. I'm glad that he didn't take too long doing the beginning movements. But after his performance, JYP said he found that skill might be useful, the tumbling. And so I can see that if he gets into the group, he's going to have him doing that for, I don't know how many performances. It reminds me of Boys Planet with Kim Min-sung. He's always doing the flip, and even today, when they just had their pre-debut, he's still doing the flip on every performance, which is fine by me, because it's a cool flip. But Maraku ended up getting the cube for this. So finally, oh, by the way, this puts Maraku in ahead of the game as well, because now he has 3 cubes. And so he and you are further ahead than anyone. So the final guy is Sean. And Matsubara Sean comes up with a yellow outfit. He's going to dress himself up in his pants without using his arms. And he's also going to do it to Fever, which is... I feel like JYP must have set that aside and said everyone has to use Fever. And he's also going to dance while he's doing it. So when he actually gets into it, I thought it was really funny. Like, one of the best parts was him doing the splits in the middle of his dance. This was like his way of getting into the pants. He had to rely on his knees to kind of like anchor the parts of the pants down while he did the splits to get him on. And at some point when he was doing this and the song was kind of nearing the end, it actually did seem impossible, and I ended up rooting for him to get like through it and to beat it, and I felt like there was like a real sense of anticipation here. But JYP, after he finishes the dance, and he did succeed in getting his pants on, by the way, JYP says that this was his favorite ever performance from Nizi Project 1 and 2. And so, obviously, Sean got the cube for this. But JYP found out that Sean really only succeeded 1 out of 20 tries, according to his math. And that JYP appreciates that he has a sense of luck here. Because Sean basically said he had a 5% chance of getting the pants on, and he really did risk it. I wonder what he would do if he didn't get the pants on in time. But it seemed like he didn't really nail it in terms of like 100% knowing how to get those pants on, but he did it for when it counted. And so that's Sean. JYP basically said this put him on the map for him, and so JYP is more interested in him now than he was before. And that's something similar he said to someone else. So this puts Sean at 2 cubes, and that brings him into the running. He's outrunning the empty spaces on his pendant, and so that's pretty good. And then that's basically it. That's like we got to see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 performances. 7 out of 21 means that there could be 2 more episodes of this if they don't summarize in the next episode. I would like to see everyone's talent. I don't really like to see the summarizing, but at the same time, I don't want episodes to go too long as well. And so if you're gonna summarize it, like, don't summarize too much of it. But that's the first part of the star level test, and there's no bingo this week. But obviously they're going to continue showing way more in the next week. And so this is where we leave off for this episode. And this is where we are with these guys here. So as you can see, in terms of people who got the star level cube, you have Sean, you have Ken, you have Taichi from Tokyo, you have Taiga, you have Miraku, and you have you. And the people who have finally gotten onto the board are So Ken with this one cube. There are still people who don't have cubes, such as Takayo and Takato. And these are the first people we ever saw on Nizi Project, by the way. And so I kind of feel bad for them because this guy is supposed to be a really good guy. And this guy was like the guy that was the beginning of everyone's hopes and dreams in this show. And having one cube now puts him in the running alongside Taichi and Seita, but who knows what happens when they do their star level test. They may put it up to 2 and then leave him behind. Oh, Kohei also has 1. And Yuto doesn't have 1 too. And so who knows what's going to happen with those guys. But right now, Yu and Miraku are the top contenders. And I'm glad about this because obviously Yu is the one I've been rooting for since the beginning. And Miraku, he's basically been doing a really good job and coming out ahead. Even though he wasn't like one of the early... Like he wasn't highlighted early on. He kind of, I think, came out of nowhere really. And started like just showing up for the evaluations. So I guess that's it. It's nothing really much else to say. We have to see more star level tests before we get to the rankings as well. But as far as the people remaining, there are certain people you want to see do really well, like AG and Sodai. You want to see Shoke do well. Tomoya, Haru, Yuki, and Rio. These are people who have 2 stones, and you want to see them get the 3rd, so that the group can be as big as possible. And then also you want to see the other people catch up as well. But I guess that's pretty much it. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you don't like it, give it a thumbs down. Let me know why in the comment box down below. And also, if you're not subscribed, consider subscribing, and then I'll see you in the next video.